Hi lovely people, so today I am back with a requested video. This is going to be my take on a starting your K-pop photo card collection video. The first thing I want to start out with is saying that these are just my opinions, like my experience with starting a photo card collection. So please don't take my word as gospel. Obviously take everything with a grain of salt. Everyone is set to do what they want differently, and I will try find some other how to start a photo card collection like videos down below, especially because a lot of my references will be to like Australian places. So if you're from any other country, obviously it might not be as accurate or as helpful to you. So I will try to link some different videos from different creators down below. But regardless, I hope this can help some of you even a little bit. That would make everything worth it. So the first thing I want to start off with, the biggest thing when starting a photo card collection is do not compare your photo card collection to other people. Obviously, my photo card collection is probably significantly bigger than some others, but also significantly smaller than some others. So never feel you have to keep up with other people. Everyone collects at their own pace. So please don't, try compare it. Obviously, it's great to be watching other people's binder videos and stuff like that, but never feel that you have to keep up with other people, because this ish is expensive. Like, especially if you're collecting groups like BTS, that can get super expensive. So that would be my first tip when starting a K-pop collection in regards to photo cards. So I wanted to get that out of the way first, and then I'll kind of explain my K-pop photo card collecting kind of journey. So I got into K-pop in 2017 and I started collecting photo cards, I'd probably say towards the end of 2018, and I have a too much gene, like way too much gene, so I went quite quickly into my photo cards. So that's kind of how I've been doing it, I guess, through my experience. So I have done it pretty quickly, as I said, not quickly as some other people may have, but yeah, so that's kind of how mine has been. So here we have BTS. So BTS were my first group. They are my alt group. I love and adore them. So these were the first photo cards I started collecting. So when it comes to collecting photo cards, obviously everyone does it different. I do obviously recommend binders. They are really nice to just store them in, to just have them. But again, you can always store them in your albums. As much as it pains me, you can store them in the back of your phones, please. Be careful if you're going to do that. It gives me major stress, but you do what you want. But yeah, so how I would recommend storing photo cards, if they are ones you really care about, I would definitely recommend double sleeving them. So when I say double sleeve, I mean that you get a penny sleeve and you just sleeve them up. Preferably this way is the best way to do it, so you don't have an edge, and then just stick it in your sleeves. So that way they're just a little bit extra protected, especially if you've got cards that are a bit more on the expensive side. That's a really good way to go about it. I will grab oh god, I'm a mess. It's all stuck together. Okay, so these are the penny sleeves that I use. Obviously said everyone will be different. You definitely want to go for getting like acid-free stuff so it doesn't damage your cards, especially with like your binder sleeves as well. So anything that fits the cards. Obviously I know that some cards are bigger. One of my friends collects Monster X, and I know that Monster X cards are significantly bigger than BTS cards, so depends what type of fit you want on them, but definitely penny sleeves are a really good way to go, especially when trading as well. These are like a lifesaver. So those would be my first investment. Even if you're just keeping them in a album, always good to have that level of protection as well. So when it comes to storing them in your binder, obviously there are different types of sleeves. So you have your 9-pocket sleeves. 9-pocket sleeves are usually really easy to cut across, because obviously they're used for a lot of things like Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, even like things like Animal Crossing cards. So they are really easy to come across. I know I can get them at a store called Zing. So anyone from Australia, you can get them from Zing. They're like 10 cents each. So really good. And they are the Ultra Pro ones. There are obviously different brands. Personally, I like Ultra Pro. I do also like the little holographic sticker as well. That has nothing to do with it. But yeah, 9 pocket sleeves are the easiest ones to come across. You should be able to find them at any sort of like gaming store, usually. Anywhere that sells like Pokemon cards, anything like that, should have them. So we have 9 pocket sleeves. Obviously, we then have 8 pocket sleeves. So for anyone who collects like BTS and collects tour cards, they usually do always fit in the 8 pocket sleeves. So those are really good. A little bit harder to come across. All the other sleeves I'll talk about now are not as easy to find in stores as the 9 pocket sleeves. However, they are really, really easy to find like on eBay. So those would be 8 pocket sleeves. You then have 2 pocket sleeves, which are these ones here, really good for bigger inclusions. So things like the twice coaster cards will fit in here and stuff like that. So really good for those. You then have 3 pocket sleeves. So there's a few different types of 3 pocket sleeves. You can get the ones that are for like bigger inclusions, but there's also these ones. So really good for these BTS long ones, red velvet standees, or red velvet like the receipt cards from Finale. So anything that's like that will usually fit in 3-page sleeves. And then we have the last ones that I personally use, which are 4 pocket sleeves. These are really good for fitting in things that are too small for 2 pockets, but bigger than 9 pockets, obviously. So these cards from BTS fit perfectly in 4 pocket sleeves. And you will also find that the size of 4 pocket sleeves will change depending on what brand you buy. So with Ultra Pro, I personally can't fit Wings cards in them, but I do know other brands are a little bit bigger and they can fit in there. So definitely keep that in mind when you are looking into buying sleeves. Definitely kind of like look up sizing and stuff like that. It's definitely the best way to go. So that would sort of be what I'd recommend in regards to storing them. And then in regards to collecting per se. So again, this is just like my personal experience. I'm not saying that you have to do this. Obviously, everyone has different opinions, but I would always recommend to start off with the current releases and work your way back. So things that are rare are probably always going to stay rare. You may as well start collecting the non-rare stuff before that stuff becomes rare. So things like, for instance, I started collecting BTS obviously around tier time. Like that was when I started collecting albums. I didn't start collecting photo cards until more this time. But I focused on this lenticular, the tier lenticular, and the answer lenticular, that's what it's called, before I went back and focused on the her lenticular, because anyone who collects BTS will know this ish is expensive and it wasn't about to get any cheaper anytime soon. So it was better to focus on these ones while they were relatively non-expensive before you go back and collect rarer things. So always recommend starting with in-print stuff and then working your way back through limited edition stuff. Personally, my kind of idea. The second thing I would recommend is organize your, like, what you want to collect. Set yourself boundaries and organize stuff in that retrospect. So I'm not very good at sticking to this, so I really shouldn't be chatting because I'm terrible. But kind of work out who you're going to collect. It is quite painful to chop and change. It can be really expensive, so you probably don't want to be changing your bias like every 2 seconds. So maybe work out who your bias is before you start collecting. However, it is fine to sell people. It's fine to change biases. Never feel that you can't get rid of people. I know that feels really hard. But like, for instance, recently I've stopped collecting ATs. And that was just the decision I decided to make, not because I stopped loving ATs, but just because they weren't a priority of mine like anymore. So definitely feel free to change things up, but I would definitely recommend going in with sort of like an idea and kind of like a grasp on who you want to collect. I'm gonna go grab my twice binder before I continue on. I know I said Twice Finder, I meant Momo, because I'm going to talk about something in there. I'm sorry if this video is all over the place. I'm kind of just trying to say things as they come to mind. Maybe I'll like edit things in and crop it out, but I'm not too sure. But for me, this is just kind of what makes sense. It's also super important to understand like that there's going to be different prices. So especially with Tae for BTS, obviously he is expensive. These are all of his DVD cards, not all of them, just all the ones I have. And you have to take into consideration that things like DVD cards are going to be much more expensive than album photo cards, mainly because albums stay in print for a little bit longer, not as many people buy DVDs, and that's why you'll notice things like this card here versus, so this is his 2017 memories card versus his 2017 Blu-ray card. That is going to be a very big different kind of jump in price because of how many people are buying it. So obviously less people are probably buying the Blu-ray, which means there's going to be less photo cards in circulation, which then means that they're going to be more expensive. So also, yeah, take into consideration it does fluctuate with members as well. Obviously that shouldn't be a defining moment for why you collect your bias. But yeah, if you're going to sell things, try to sell them at the same price because everyone deserves the same equal love, and don't overprice them. Yes. So yeah, that's definitely something to kind of take into consideration as well. I really feel like this video is a mess. My brain, like, I feel like I have a million things to say, but I actually can't express what I want to say. When collecting, a really good thing to have is fillers. So I personally got these from Kmart. You could get like 60, I think I got 60 for like $6. So that's really good to mark obviously what you are missing and like who it's coming from. So obviously the reason I want to bring out Momo is, for instance, obviously More and More was the most recent comeback. So I am waiting on a bunch of those. So I've just marked where I'm getting it from. Obviously all these are like Facebook ones. So I just have names. I do also mark the colors so I know where they're coming from. So like pink stands for Australia. Is it like blue stands for America, just so I can see like at a glance where they're coming from. So just so you can try keep everything sort of together. One of the biggest issues a lot of people find when starting to collect photo cards is that you can kind of get a bit lost in it, especially if you're collecting someone like Twice who have so many photo cards. It can be a bit of a struggle to remember what you have coming, what you've already bought, what's in the mail, especially at the moment with like Corona, things are taking significantly longer to get here. So it can be a bit like more, I guess, confusing. So I'd always recommend doing something like this, even just storing in your phone, like in your notes, what you have, when it's coming, like if it's arrived or whatnot. That's what I do just to keep track. If you want to go a little bit further, you can do something like I used to do back in the day and like had a little checklist. So that would show, like, obviously I haven't used this in a little bit. I've just pulled this out for this video. Let me find, yeah, so like for instance, like just saying like what you have, how much you've spent on it, that sort of kind of thing as well. That is another option. But yeah, I don't think there's really anything much more I can think of. It was a bit of a higgledy-piggledy video, but if you have any more questions, please let me know and I can answer them. I'm trying to think of like anything else that I can add. Obviously, like places to get photo cards really good are like Facebook buy and sell pages, Instagram. You can obviously get things off eBay, but definitely keep an eye out for scammers. It's a horrible thing, but definitely just do your research, especially if you're going to go into things like trading, especially because PayPal are now changing their like kind of like terms and conditions, and goods and services will no longer cover like resellers. So for things like photo cards will no longer be covered by goods and services. So that is definitely something that is coming into like, I think maybe July 31st or June 31st. I will double check and put it up here. but yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I think that was everything. I'm so sorry for like the mass confusion that was this video. I feel like I talked really fast too, so I might have to try and like slow it down. But as I said, if you have any questions, anything that I didn't cover, please just leave the comments down in obviously the comment section. I am currently on holiday when this gets uploaded, so I will try my hardest to answer any questions, but I may not be as active as I would like to be, so if I don't reply straight away, that is why, but I will get back to you. So yeah, I'll link any